Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Phillies Talk Podcast. It's the holiday edition, start of the holiday season, and I'm joined by my good friend, Matt Veazey. How you doing, Matt?
Morning, Rich. How are you?
Great. And if you're watching us on the YouTube channel, which I suggest you search on youtube.com, you'll see Matt's awesome background with the Christmas tree in the background. We're getting ready for the holiday season already upon us for some folks that are already celebrating. And hey, it's a festive time of year, but not all that festive for baseball in general.
Ho, ho, ho. We've got a lockout. These gates behind me at Citizens Bank Park are locked out. And, we're, in my opinion, Rich, we're probably looking at a few months. If I were to give any advice to fans at this point, I would just say, do your Christmas shopping, worry about the holidays, find something else to enjoy during January, NFL playoffs, your basketball and your hockey seasons, and then I don't think we're really going to see much real movement on this until maybe February, until we start pushing up against spring training. Then I think the talks will get more serious, but they went home, had their meetings this week that weren't really fruitless, that weren't really bear any fruit at all. And I think both sides have pretty much set down, what it is that they're looking for. The other sides are, obviously not in agreement on those issues. And, the main issues, as always, are economic ones. The players are looking to move the time frame for when they can become free agents from 6 years down to 5, and they're looking for a couple of other things that they believe will increase the competitive balance, the way that they're describing it in baseball. So it seemed to be like 2 or 3 main sticking points, and those are sticking points that have been in existence really for since this whole free agency era began 45 years ago or so. So I don't think you're going to see a lot of real movement when you're talking about issues that have been in place for 45 years that neither side's been able to really agree on. I think that the players would be happy if they could get one of the 3 or 4 issues that they're looking to have on their side. I think that they would like to hold out from their end, and even if they just get one of them, they'd feel it's a victory. There are some issues where the sides are in agreement. They're raising the amount of money that players can spend, that teams can spend on their overall salary structure. The major league minimum salary, would be raised. Major League Baseball's already made a commitment to minor league players to increase some of the benefits and salaries for the minor leaguers. So there are a bunch of things I think they can agree on, but I think we're looking at, for the next, through the holidays and even through January, you'll see a lot of things being written about these negotiations, but there's not going to be, in my opinion, you won't see any settlement. There won't be anything substantive until February.
Yeah, I was listening to MLB Network this morning, and they announced that there would be not allowed to show the players' likenesses on screen, their pictures, that sort of thing, and how that will change their show. And as you said, baseball has come to a halt. The owners locked the players out, and the players are not budging off of what their demands are. And like you said, if they could get 1 or 2 of what their top demands are, I think they would be successful. Baseball really isn't broken, so to speak. I don't see there's glaring issues that they wouldn't be able to solve. But evidently, the players are voting behind the scenes to not accept what the owners are offering right now. So, as you said, it's going to be a while. A lot of us don't even realize it right now because we're in our winter modes. Baseball's not on our plate, so to speak. We're watching the football games or watching the hockey games. And another thing I was listening to and reading about is a lot of people since COVID have developed new ways of spending money. So I hope baseball doesn't suffer if this goes prolonged and we see a not a good start to the season on time, that sort of thing. And, a lot of people don't have sympathy for millionaire ball players these days.
Well, that's always been the case, ever since free agency began, the salaries started getting as huge as they are. But you got to remember, it's an entertainment industry, and when you look at, uh, people don't, because you don't really hear about these figures. People don't have any problem with Tom Cruise making, 10, 20, 30 million dollars for a picture, which is the kind of money that major motion picture stars get for motion pictures. It's an entertainment process, and Tom Cruise is going to drive a large audience to the theaters. Now, of course, I'm talking outside the COVID structure, but the point being that people are going to pay to go see. More people are going to pay to go see a Phillies team that has Bryce Harper on it, that an Angels team that has Mike Trout on it. So, I don't behoove, an entertainer, which is a ball player. I don't behoove an entertainer making 10, 20, 30 million dollars for a year. Now, we're talking about it as part of a more than $10 billion industry. So it's perspective, Rich. Of course, some fans are always going to say, "Oh, you're getting paid millions of dollars to play a kid's game." Fine. I personally, I don't have time for that kind of conversation because that's an uneducated fan to me. An educated fan understands that this is an entertainment business, that you're trying to drive fannies into the seats. And the best way to put fannies into the seats, whether it's at a movie theater or a theater for a play or for a ballpark or a facility for a hockey game or basketball game, is to put marquee, exciting, talented players or actors or actresses, or musicians, into your facility on a regular basis. Now, the way you do that is to pay money, and if the money's there, and it is certainly there in like I said, a $10+ billion industry like Major League Baseball, then salary really shouldn't be the issue. I don't think salaries are the big issue here. I think the big issue is that the pie is growing. There's more money over the years in baseball, and I think that the players are just looking to make sure that they, and their representatives, Tony Clark and the MLBPA, they're making sure that their players get what they feel is a fair, share of that pie. The players are the game. The owners are not the game. The owners provide a lot of things, especially if they're doing a good job as owners, as far as facilities, as far as investments in other players, signing free agent contracts, and keeping the players they have by extending them, that kind of thing. But the bottom line is that the players are what fans come to see. Nobody comes to the ballpark to go look up into a box and see John Middleton sitting there, so players deserve a large share. Now, how much of a share? That's one of the things they'll negotiate. And that is one of the three, I think, main pillars of what we're talking about here, is the players looking for an increase in their share of the revenue sharing. The other being that issue of cutting down the service time from 6 years to 5 years when they become a free agent. Major League Baseball is talking about something like, making players free agents when they turn 30 or something like that. The Players Association isn't going to go for that. You saw some of the record numbers that were thrown around that were given to players in contracts this week, especially the guys who were in their upper 20s. Max Scherzer aside, he's an anomaly at age 37 or what he is, getting the kind of money he did. But most of the time, you're going to see guys like Bryce Harper got here when he was, 26, 27 years old, going to get that massive 10, 12, 15-year contract. Corey Seager got 10 years, $325 million, in his upper 20s. So players certainly don't want to, wait till you're 30 and have everybody become a free agent. So I think, that issue of, service time and when you become a free agent, that issue of slicing up the pie as far as the overall financial structure in baseball, if you will. Those are going to be a couple of the main issues that we're looking at getting resolved. But that issue of fans having sympathy for $1 million ball players, I think that we should just stop talking about that idea, because to me that's just that's a non-starter as far as if I'm going to have a talk with a fan and they were to say, oh, I don't have any feelings about these guys making $10 million play baseball. Well, move along as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, well, it still is out there. And one of the things that was out there,
It's always going to be out there, Rich. It's been out there since the first player made $1 million.
Yeah, yeah. And we remember those days. Here's what happened with the MLB photos. Right as the strike was announced in day one, legally, the MLB had to take the players' likenesses off the screen, the photos. So if you're
Reese
watching
is looking a little different there.
Yeah, you're watching our YouTube stream. Reese Hoskins adopted his avatar, so to speak, the no face avatar. And I think MLB in certain spots has taken those down now. They got a sour reception from some, humorous at that. But now what they're showing is a little bit different. Just a plain screen, so to speak, without the likeness being shown. Let me see if I can bring up Kyle Seager's page here, and up here on the left above the name, of course, used to be the picture. So they replaced that with just a generic picture of some lights and stuff, which is kind of cool. But that took a life of its own. The first day of the lockout, players were having a little fun with that, but this is the first time within the modern era of which we are dealing with a work stoppage, and all the social media aspects and things are now becoming known. Whereas back in '94, we didn't have much of this going on with the Twitter and the extent of how good certain social medias are and MLB.com itself. So that was an interesting story as well with the stoppage. And like Matt said, we just have to go along with our own lives day by day and not worry about this lockout until springtime. And then if it's still locked out, then there's a worry. But holiday season's coming up. Matt, do you have any big Phillies type of gear you want to pick up for this holiday season?
I'll always be fishing around, Rich, for something that catches my eye, but nothing in particular. I already have my season ticket plan in place for next year, so ticket wise, I'm set. And I think that certainly if you talk to my wife, you would find out that she doesn't. The last thing she would want me to do is to spend any more money on any gear or paraphernalia, and I'm actually cleaning out my house over the fall, so I'm looking to get rid of junk, if you will. So I'm not looking to add any more stuff. So I'm not personally, shopping for anything, but I'm always looking out there, and if something really, really solid catches my eye, then we'll see, but I'm not really in the market for anything per se at this point, but there's a lot of good stuff out there. I mean, if you go to Phillies.com, stop in at the Phillies New Era store. Today, we're doing this show on Friday, December 3rd, and tomorrow, as of the date of this show, so meaning Saturday, December 4th, the Phillies New Era store is having a big sale, big event down there with a lot of the Fanatic will be there, and players obviously won't be there, but The Fanatic will be there, maybe some broadcasters. So there'll be a large Phillies event at the New Era store down at Citizens Bank Park. So any fans who do have somebody on their shopping list, there are going to be sale prices. There are going to be offers, special offers there. They're going to have some giveaways. So this would be a nice event, if fans are looking to do something baseball related on Saturday, December 4th. If they catch our show in time, stop down to the Phillies New Era store at the ballpark.
All right, cool. That sounds like a bunch of fun. Yeah, I had my eye on a jersey over the Black Friday weekend, an authentic jersey, and they're getting god awful money for these things. I think the list price on them are like $359, somewhere around there. But they were discounted a good deal. They were into the mid 200s. So I had my eye on it, but I didn't pull any triggers on it yet. Not sure if I wanted to go with a player jersey or just a plain jersey. And that's a significant amount of money to spend on a authentic jersey, but I was looking.
Well, in line with this event that they're having tomorrow that I mentioned, they are also doing the annual Christmas tree lighting. That's going to come in conjunction with this sale at the New Era store. So the ballpark, even though, we're in a lockout situation as far as the players are concerned, the Phillies organization is still going to offer some of these nice events for fans. And the annual Christmas tree lighting down there at the ballpark is going to take place. It's scheduled for 5 p.m. tomorrow. So they wait for the sun to go down, obviously, and the Fanatic will be there. They're supposed to have, I know Mickey Morandini is scheduled to be there as far as a former player. He can be there. He's not a member of the MLBPA at this point. And guys like, Scott Palmer and Keith Jones, some local media types and Phillies media types will be there. So, you can take pictures at the ballpark at this event tomorrow with the World Series trophies. Both the 1980 and 2008 World Series trophies will be in the ballpark. So, there are a lot of things down there. Broadcasters, Ruben Amaro, Larry Anderson, Ben Davis. They're scheduled to be there between 10:30 and 11:30 tomorrow morning. Again, this is Saturday, December 4th. So, you can make your own ornament. There are a lot of things down there. So this is going to be a nice event. I think they're going to have at the ballpark for anybody who wants to stop out. And as I said, maybe you can get that great jersey you're looking for down there with a better sale, tomorrow.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I get some emails from the Phillies on that, but I didn't get that email. I get the Authentics emails, with the sales and stuff on the bases and the old player jerseys and things like that. But I must not be on the right email list for those events, because that sounds like a fun time for Phillies fans. So yeah,
if you go to the Phillies.com, website, under the fans and the events and happenings section, you'll see plenty of stuff about the holidays, or you can Google the Phillies New Era store, and there'll be a link right into the New Era store and some of the events that they have both tomorrow and all during the off season.
Yeah, that's cool. I would love to have been able to do that. I got a prior commitment for this one, but yeah, I'd be up there in a heartbeat to check that out. It's going to be a fun time, and hopefully some of our listeners may hear this before that event and check it out. But leading up to the lockout, the Phillies were making some moves, so to speak. Not the big moves that everybody expected or wanted, rather, not necessarily expected, but Phillies agreed to terms with right-handed pitcher Corey Knebel, I guess is the way you pronounce his name.
It's Corey Knebel. I think it's just Knebel.
Is it?
Yeah, Corey Knebel.
Okay, cool. And infielder Johan Camargo on a 1-year contract. And I remember that name, Camargo. I remember him with the Atlanta Braves, and I remember him being a pretty good player.
Yeah, Camargo is a really good defender, and not a big bat. He's an experienced bench guy. I think he played something like 6, 7, 8 years with the Braves. Still in his upper 20s. So I mean, he's he's a bench player, and he'll be able to fill in at a number of places. He plays pretty much all over the field. Like I said, he's a good athlete, a good defensive player. So he's a nice little pickup. He's not going to move he's not going to move the bar any for the Phillies as far as, where they're going to finish in the standings, but he's not a bad pickup as far as for the bench.
Yeah. I just remember that name sticking back in the memory banks there. And when I read that, I was like, wow, I remember that name. I was happy that the Phillies signed him, not the marquee player, not the, Semien or Seager. They, of course, were signed by Texas, both of them. But we did get a closer in Corey Knebel there. And I wonder, is he going to be an effective closer for the Phillies? It seems like they took a chance with him with the 1-year deal.
And I think I always said Corey Knebel.
Uh-huh.
And I'm looking him up on Baseball Reference, and it looks like they pronounce him as Knebel.
Yeah.
Corey
Yeah.
Knebel.
Yeah, I've heard.
So I'll have to get that down a little bit better. Corey Knebel. All right.
Yep.
But as you're talking about, he's an experienced guy. You're talking about a 30-year-old. He's a right-hander. He's got 7 years of big league experience. Could have had a couple of more years of big league experience, except he lost all of 2019 and a lot of even some of last year in the COVID season, and then even a little bit of 2021 recovering from Tommy John surgery. So he has lost some time over the most recent 2 or 3 big league seasons, but before that, he was a pretty effective closer in Milwaukee. He had a sensational 2017 season in which he registered 39 saves. He was a National League All-Star, had a 1.78 ERA. Over 76 innings that year, Rich. He allowed just 48 hits and had 126 strikeouts. So his 2017 was phenomenal. Followed that up with a pretty good, not as good, but a pretty good 2018 before he got hurt. Comes back last year with the Dodgers, and he only pitched in 27 games, but he looked really good again. Most importantly, he looked healthy. Over 25.2 innings in 27 games. He only allowed 16 hits, and he had 30 strikeouts. So he was back to that less than a hit an inning, more than a strikeout an inning type pitcher. And that's really what you want at the back end of your bullpen. Doesn't give up a lot of long balls. He had a 2.45 ERA last year. His whip was under 1. So, the Phillies are banking on, I guess, Knebel being okay. It's going to take me some time to get over that because I've been calling him Corey Knebel for years. But Corey Knebel, they're banking on his comeback being real last year, and he looked real. He looked really good. Knebel, on the other hand, is banking on himself because reports are that the Phillies were willing to offer him 2 years, and he turned it down. So what he's looking for, obviously, is to prove over a full season, especially if the Phillies give him that opportunity to be their closer. He's looking to prove that he is back. And then he would go into the free agent class again next off season. New CBA in place. He's only 30 years old. So, he's looking to reset his value in the free agent market with a big season for the Phillies. If he starts doing that, if he starts having a big season for the Phillies, then since he's only on a 1-year deal, they'll have a couple of options. One being they could try to extend him during the season if he looks really healthy and he's part of a good winning team. They might just say, hey, let's get this guy wrapped up for the next 3 or 4 years or so. If they're not really winning, if they're not going where they hope, if they don't know whether they can re-sign him or not, he could end up being a trade chip, at the July 30th trade deadline. So it's a good signing for them, I think. It's not, I don't preclude this from being, they're saying that they're going to give him a chance to be the closer going into spring training. So I don't necessarily think that they're going to stop looking at a possibility of bringing in a guy like Craig Kimbrell, but that would take a trade and it would probably take some significant assets. So I think if they could get a guy like Kimbrell on a decent deal, something that they feel comfortable giving up, then they would still bring him in, use Knebel as Knebel as the setup guy. But I think there's a very real chance at this point that Knebel is the closer as far as when spring training rolls around, and the back end of the bullpen will be you're about to bring up Hector Neris in the discussion.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see somebody like Sir Anthony Dominguez, who's coming off of his own injury issues, also looked healthy when last season ended as a key member on the back end of the bullpen.
Yeah, I was encouraged to see Hector Neris with his contract there. Got a 2-year deal from the Houston Astros, $17 million. Of course, we had Neris on the team for many years. He was in that closer's role for the Phillies for a long time, in and out towards the end. But were you surprised at the money thrown at Hector Neris, especially at this point in his career? And I don't hear you right now.
Even though you got me now?
Yeah, I got you.
Even though Phillies fans, he's a favored whipping boy for some of the people on the internet. Hector Neris has had a fantastic Phillies career. He gave up the key home run, or he broke down, and to me, it seemed to be an issue maybe about mental toughness. He's one of those guys that seemed like he let things snowball on him, or he gave up he just threw the bad pitch at the wrong time. But there were times when he was just utterly dominant. He's a big strikeout guy. He's at a good age. I think the Astros got a really good signing here. As long as you don't commit to Hector Neris as your closer, which I think the Phillies finally found out last year, when they pulled him back, made him more of a setup guy. That's where Hector Neris is going to pay off for you. And he's classically what I like in a relief pitcher towards the back of the bullpen that Knebel brings. Fewer hits than innings pitched, more strikeouts than innings pitched, and especially the better that those ratios are, I love the player even more. And over time, Neris, his hits to innings pitch ratio and his strikeouts to innings pitch ratios were really good. So I like Hector Neris. I'm not surprised he got money. And as I said, as long as he's not your closer, he could step in. I mean, if you have another closer and your guy goes down, he gets injured, he has an ineffective year, Neris could step in and give you some good closer opportunities. But I think if you're using him as your right-handed setup man, you're going to get some good value out of Hector Neris. So I think it's a good signing for the Astros.
Yeah, and he's got some left in him. 32 years old, got the 2-year deal. It's amazing about Knebel there, only wanting to do the 1 year, because he has had injuries over the past several years. He missed 92 days with the Dodgers last year and a lat issue he had. 92 days, it's a lot. He pitched a couple games in April, and then they didn't see him till almost the end of the season. So I hope he stays more healthy with the Phillies. And there's still a lot of good free agents out there. Of course, the Mets just totally went bonkers on this hot stove season leading up to the lockout. Do you think we're going to have to fear the Mets this year?
The Mets are improved. They're better than they were. You just add Max Scherzer to your rotation. But they also pulled kind of, you saw what the Braves did last year at the trade deadline, fortifying their outfield, and what a difference that made for them. Mets did the same kind of thing. They kind of rebuilt their entire outfield. So they still have Pete Alonso. They they still have Francisco Lindor. They still have Jacob deGrom. So I think if the Mets are healthy, they're better, I think. They finished something like 5 or 6 games behind the Phillies last year. So, the Phillies have some work to do, if they want to stay ahead of New York. But I don't, plenty of names are still out there that have been linked to the Phillies. So we don't really know what the Phillies are going to be in 2022 yet. You still have Chris Bryant. You still have Nick Castellanos, Trevor Story, Kyle Schwarber. You have some other names that are, I don't know how much the Phillies will be interested, but you have guys like Kenley Jansen and Freddie Freeman and Carlos Correa, Clayton Kershaw and Zach Greinke. I mean, there are some huge names that are still available. And beyond those, you have dozens of really good, serviceable major league players who could help fill out a bullpen, who could help fill out a bench. So until this labor issue gets resolved and the Phillies can get back into addressing the free agent market, you're not going to see, we're not going to know what the Phillies are, but I don't think that it certainly isn't time to panic. There are plenty of good, strong ball players who've been linked to the club in the past who are still available. So we saw a lot of names go off the board this past week, but most of those names were never linked to the Phillies. So I would just say to fans, be patient. And as I said earlier, get through your holidays, worry about that. January, find something else to do with your time. And once we have baseball back with a CBA, then we'll start seeing, I think the Phillies will be one of the bigger players when the game resumes economically.
Yeah, a lot of big names went off the market, of course, huge deals. Texas out of their minds, I think, with $500 million between 2 players. That's amazing, really, that they plunged that much into 2 players. But we'll see if that helps them for 2022. And make sure if you make reservations for spring training that you make the refundable ones, because we don't know what's going to happen in 3 months' time here, 2 months, 2.5 months when it starts up again, or supposed to start up again. And I learned out firsthand how terrible it is to, make my plans, go down, and halfway down, they cancel spring training with the COVID during 2020 season. But lesson learned, make those reservations and make sure they're refundable.
Yeah, I was considering, I haven't been down to spring training for a decade now, Rich. I was really strongly considering going down next year, but with a lockout in place and we don't know what's going to happen, I'd be very reluctant at this point. I wouldn't, make any plans to go down there. If you do make plans, I would say make them tentative and don't make them until there's a CBA in place, or skip this year, or, make it a last minute trip if you can keep your schedule and if you can keep your, finances open-ended until we get to February or March. That's probably a better, more smart bet for fans and anybody who already has committed, or like you said, does want to commit over the next few weeks. Make sure you get some travel insurance, or make sure you have some backup plan.
Exactly. It's
you don't want to go down there. I remember what you did. I think in COVID, you ended up going down there. There were no games, and that rug got pulled out from under you at the last minute. And I remember you ended up walking around taking pictures of ballparks from outside the ballpark.
I did. I went out and visited.
People don't want to get stuck with that, although the beaches of Florida are nice. You can always lay on a beach.
Yeah, it was pretty nice. I mean, I made the best of it by visiting different clubs, winter digs that I may not have seen. In the other hand, going down to Pirate City, and they have the training section a little separate from where their stadium is. That's a little strange, but I did both of those, did the Toronto stadium, and they still had some players sort of in there, and the Yankee facility as well. So, I mean, these were things that, I might not have seen if I went down and everything worked out as planned. So it's nice to go down and check it out, but
that might be something for fans who have been down to Clearwater already, but haven't been around like you did to some of the other ballparks. There are a number of those ballparks especially on the west coast of Florida, in that area where Clearwater is, that are within, driving range of Clearwater. And
Yeah.
Some fans in the future, if you're talking about making plans to go down there for 4, 5, 6 days, it might be of interest to a fan to really plan it out this time, and maybe take in a game or two of Clearwater, but take a look around and see what else is there and see what the schedules are that year, and maybe take in a game at another one of those ballparks that are nearby. Dunedin is right there, and then
Yep.
you have a couple of other ballparks, Tampa, of course, for the Yankees, and there are a couple of others that are real close. So if you plan out your trip a little bit more beyond Clearwater, I think you'll get a chance to really enjoy some nice baseball facilities down there in Florida.
Yes, indeed. So we're thinking warm weather, even though we just started our meteorological winter around the Northeast here, Philadelphia area. Getting a little chilly out, but still we're maintaining our nice weather for now. But it was nice to talk to everyone about the Phillies on this show. And Matt, why don't you tell the folks where they can find more about where you are on the internet with the Phillies?
The biggest place for me always, every single day, I'm on @PhilliesBell on Twitter. So that's always the best place that they can, pick me up for Phillies information. And if I do write anything, my writing has become a little more infrequent these days. But if I do, I'll be linking it up on Phillies Bell. So again, that's @PhilliesBell on Twitter. And if I can give you one more thing, Rich, before we go real quick, as far as topics go. Very important issue this weekend coming up for Phillies fans is the Sunday will be the election for the Golden Eras Committee, where Dick Allen will be getting another opportunity to be elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame. The last time around, he missed election by 1 vote. Mike Schmidt is on the committee, the Golden Eras Committee this year, and he's already come out publicly as stating that he's going to be, I don't know if he's going to be twisting arms, but he's certainly going to be making the phone calls to the other members of the committee, trying to convince them to vote for his friend, Dick Allen, for the Hall of Fame. So we have a chance this weekend to right what I believe has been a decades-long injustice and get Dick Allen, another Philly, into the Hall of Fame. So with any luck, we'll get that good news sometime on Sunday or after Sunday evening. And maybe next summer we'll have a big Phillies name, a Wall of Famer, retired number 15. Maybe we'll get him into Cooperstown, and we can get some Phillies fans out to Cooperstown for next year's Hall of Fame induction ceremony. So Sunday, that vote is coming up on Sunday, the Golden Eras Committee. So something to keep in touch with, and that I'll be keeping updated @Phillies Bell.
Very cool. Yeah. MLB Network, they'll have a live show on Sunday at 6 p.m. So they'll be announcing that those two winners on Sunday night. If you happen to have MLB Network on your television lineup, you can tune in there and find it. And like Matt said, follow them @PhilliesBell on Twitter. A lot of information comes out there, quite a lot. I don't know how you put it all out, to be honest with you. But
a little bit of time every morning, when you're retired, Rich, you can do these things.
Yeah, today you had the birthdays, and the other day I heard a birthday that sort of set me back a little bit. It caught my ear, and I just shook my head and couldn't believe it. November 19th, one of the all-time greatest Phillies turned 42 years old. And if you've heard it, then you know who it is. But Ryan Howard turning 42 years old a couple of weeks ago. That was amazing to me. I couldn't believe it.
All those 2008 guys now, Rich, they're pretty much all into their 40s. So, hey, we all get older. 2 weeks ago, I turned 60, Rich, so I put that 6 in front of my name. So that's, none of us are getting any younger. You know what I'm saying? So
that's true.
That's good. Today's birthdays for fans. This is before my day. I was alive, but it was before my day of following the team. But any fans, there are many fans who are still alive who followed the Phillies back in the 60s. And their catcher for most of the 60s, Clay Dalrymple, celebrates his birthday today, and he's still with us. He's 85 years old now. So happy birthday to Clay Dalrymple.
Wow, very cool. That definite Philly there, the popular Philly for 8 years. I'm reading your feed right here on the show. And you guys have a great holiday season. We'll try to join you another show before the Christmas holiday, if there's any updates, hopefully. And of course, there's always going to be Phillies news. So as Matt said, if you hear this podcast before Saturday, check out the Christmas lighting. And you only have one day. That's on December 4th. We're doing the show on the 3rd. So check it out if you can. And Matt, you have a great holiday season. And I'll be talking to you about some more Phillies before Christmas.
You too, Rich. And if we don't get together, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas to everybody out there.
Thank you very much.